Hello Junior Church, good morning. I film these videos in the week and we are in the midst of homeschooling this week, and I have to say our house has gone a little bit crazy today. So I've just taken myself away from everybody else for a little bit to talk to you about Lent. So we're just about to start our Lenten series where we're going to be taking a closer look at Jesus's life. So over the next few weeks we're going to be having a look at Jesus's ministry, so that's how he worked with God here on earth, when that started, the people he was mates with, the miracles that he did and the stories that he told. Because I think if we can understand a little bit better who Jesus was and what he did here on earth, it helps us to better understand the whole of the Easter story. So I hope you enjoy the next few weeks. We're really excited about what we're going to share with you. So let's have a look at the Bible. Now, we're not told a lot of stories about Jesus when he was growing up. We know the Christmas story, and then we know that Mary and Joseph and Jesus escaped Herod and went to live in Egypt. Now they return home to a place called Nazareth, and here Jesus was, just hanging around with his family, seeing what his dad did as a carpenter. And we're told a story about when Jesus was 12 and it's Passover, so him and the family go to Jerusalem. And Mary and Joseph are on their way back from Jerusalem with a whole load of other people, and they suddenly realise that Jesus is missing. So, oh my goodness, have you ever felt that? You know when you're a child and you get lost? It's an awful feeling. Well, can you imagine how Mary and Joseph felt? So they went back to Jerusalem and looked all over the place for Jesus, and they found him in the temple. He was sat there listening to the religious leaders and asking questions about God, which I think is pretty cool. Well, Mary and Joseph weren't best pleased, but Jesus said to them, well, didn't you know where I'd be? I'd be in my Father's house. The thing I love about this story is that at the end of this story, we are told that Jesus was obedient. He spent time with his family, but Mary kept all these things in her heart and pondered them. Maybe Mary was just starting to see the man that Jesus was going to become. Well, the next thing that happens is very exciting, and there are two parts to this story, which we are going to call water and sand. The next time we meet Jesus, he's 30 years old and he is at the River Jordan. A man known as John the Baptist had been telling people that the Messiah was coming to start God's work. Now, people were really excited and getting baptised in preparation by John the Baptist. Now, the water symbolised the washing away of all the wrong things that they had done, because baptism then, and also for us now, is a sign of new life. The people hadn't given up and they wanted a fresh start with God. Let me show you a little bit more about what I mean. Well, it is springtime and in our house we have started planting, and my children have planted some broad beans, but let me show you what's happened. They've been on the window ledge and one of them has done this and the other one has done this. I don't really know what quite has happened here because they've been in the same pot and they were planted in the same soil. However, for some reason it's not quite worked out. So we're not going to give up on this little fella. We're going to plant him in a new pot. I've got a bigger pot, some good compost, and I'm going to water it as well. And these little plants reminded me of the people in this story. They were still growing, but they wanted to be more like this. They wanted to be really good, healthy plants. They wanted to be closer to God. And this was a brand new beginning for them to be baptised. They wanted something better, something new, some new soil to grow in. And that's why they were super excited about Jesus starting his ministry. Well, John baptises Jesus and then something incredible happens. As Jesus comes up out of the water, the heavens above him open and our friend Holy Spirit appeared like a dove. A voice from heaven says, "This is my son. I am so pleased with him." Jesus' ministry hadn't even started yet. He hadn't done any miracles, but God was still pleased with him. So what does this tell us about how God feels about you? Do you remember that you are God's masterpiece? He is super pleased with you too. The next part of our story is sand. So after Jesus was baptized, he goes into the wilderness, or if you imagine a desert, it's that sort of place. And he spends 40 days there. Now, 40 days, how can we imagine this? Well, we've just spent about 40 days in lockdown, about 6 weeks, and Lent is also 40 days long. So that gives you an idea of the sort of time that Jesus spent in the desert. Now, although Jesus was God, he was also a human being, and we are told in the Bible that he spent this time chatting and catching with God and also fasting. Have you ever been to a really hot place? How do you think Jesus would have felt? Well, as he was fasting, I think he definitely would have felt hungry. He would be tired and thirsty and also really, really hot. And while he was feeling like this, hungry, hot, thirsty and tired, but also spending some good time chatting and catching with God, the devil saw this as an opportunity to try and trick Jesus. You know, in the beginning of the Bible, we read that God's world was perfect, and the devil had already tricked Adam and Eve and changed God's perfect world. Now, could he do the same with Jesus? Now, even though Jesus felt hungry and exhausted, he fought back, not with superhero blows, but with God's word from the Bible. God's truth showed the devil to be a liar, that God would never bow down to what is evil, that Jesus had come to rescue his people and fight against what was wrong. This was a new beginning, a new start, and the devil ran away. Now, those 40 days had been really tough for Jesus, and angels came and they looked after him. But Jesus had shown that he was stronger and that he was ready for his rescue mission to begin. Have you ever wondered what those 40 days might have been like for Jesus? Do you think he enjoyed God's creation while he was there? The sunrise and the sunsets, looking at the creatures that lived in the wilderness. He would have seen some spectacular night skies, I'm sure, on those very clear evenings, and maybe marvelled at the plants that had managed to grow in the dusty earth. So get yourself comfy, and while you watch this little video, use the pictures to try and imagine what you think it might have felt like for Jesus spending 40 days in the desert.
He is jealous for me. Love's like a hurricane. I am a tree bending beneath the weight of his wind and mercy. And all of a sudden I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory. And I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your affections are for me. Oh, how he loves us. Oh, how he loves us. How he loves us. Like a hurricane, I am a tree bending beneath the weight of his wind and mercy. And all of a sudden I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory. And I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your affections are for me. Oh, how loves us so. Oh, how he loves us, how he loves us so. Oh, how he loves us. Oh, how he loves.
So we read in the Bible that Jesus' ministry started with two different parts. Firstly, water or baptism to symbolise a brand new beginning with God, and sand for the wilderness to show that God was more powerful than anything else, that he was the light that was going to overcome the darkness, and he was doing a brand new thing here on earth. He was on earth to rescue his people from all that was wrong and to show people that there was another way with God. In our stories of water and sand today, we saw that chatting and catching plays a really important part. In our story of water, God spoke from the heavens and said that he was really, really pleased with Jesus. And in our story of sand, Jesus spent 40 days chatting and catching with God in the wilderness. It's so cool. And during Lent, we're reminded of these things too, that actually Lent can be a brand new beginning, a real time to chat and catch with God and to grow closer to him. So why don't we use these two things this week to chat and catch with him? Let me show you what I mean. Firstly, let's think about water. So every time you wash your hands this week, why don't you think about Jesus' baptism? And while you're washing the hands, think of that brand new start. Now, we're about to have a brand new start, aren't we? With going back to school. And for those people already in school, you're going to get all your classmates back as well. It's going to be a new beginning. So why don't you chat to God about how you're feeling about that? Maybe you're feeling excited or nervous, but however you're feeling, know that you can talk to God about it. So why not do it while you're washing your hands? The second thing is sand. So when Jesus was in the desert, he spent time with God. So maybe you have got some sand, maybe a sand pit that you can play with, or maybe you've got some of this lovely kinetic sand that we've got as well. So you could put it into different shapes, and as you do, catch from God. Now, Jesus spent a lot of time with God in the wilderness. So the other thing you could do is make yourself a prayer den. You could see this prayer den's a little bit small for me. I'm half hanging out. But make yourself a prayer den. Get yourself super snuggly and just spend a little bit of quiet time with God, chatting and catching with him. Have a wonderful week chatting and catching with God. And I know for many of you, this is the last week of homeschooling before you go back to school on the 8th of March. So have a great week at home. And I just pray for you this week and your families that you would have a great time together. You have done so well. Well done. And for all those people at school, you're going to get a whole new group of people joining you, and I pray that you just have great times together when you're all back together on the 8th. So God bless, have a good week, and I'll see you soon.